Baby abductors typically reside within the same community as their victims. They may visit multiple healthcare facilities in preparation of an abduction. They often ask detailed questions about procedures and layouts, and may even impersonate healthcare personnel. Many abduction cases show that the majority of abductors are lone female offenders. They may be in an unstable relationship where they feel a baby will cement their partnership and ensure their partner will stay with them. Or they may be alone and fear they will never have someone there to love them unconditionally. Today's crime tape case looks at two babies abducted in the UK, Alex Griffiths and Abby Humphreys. Alexandra Griffiths was the first baby to be abducted from a British maternity ward. On January the 11th, 1990, newborn Alexandra Griffiths, or Alex as she was known, was just 36 hours old and being fussed over by her parents, Dawn Griffiths and Jeffrey Harris, when a woman calling herself Christine came into the ward at St Thomas's Hospital in South London. Christine told the new parents that she was a health visitor. Dawn said, "I was sitting up in my bed. My partner Jeff was in the chair beside me and Alex was in the crib, when a blonde woman aged about 34 and dressed in a brown skirt and top arrived. She said she was my health visitor and apologised for calling so late, but she'd been busy. After she asked how I was feeling, she had a feel in my tummy. Then she turned to Jeff and said I'd need all the support I could get in the next few days. When I later remembered that she said that, my blood ran cold." They chatted for a while as the woman checked some paperwork. She told Dawn she had bought a carry cot for Alex because Adams, which was a baby accessory shop, was giving them away to babies born that week to celebrate its 10th anniversary. She said she'd have to take Alex to the ward next door to have her weighed, and she asked me to put her in the new cot, says Dawn. I remember saying, "She's already been weighed," but she insisted she had to do it for her records. Any other mother would have done the same thing. I know that, but I handed over my baby to a stranger, and that could have been the last time I saw her. Dawn's mother, Barbara, arrived within seconds of Christine leaving, but said she hadn't seen anyone with a baby. That's when I started panicking. I just knew straight away that she'd taken her, says Dawn. The lady who Dawn and Jeff had thought was a health visitor called Christine was in fact Janet Griffiths, whose surname just happened to be the same as Dawn's, but was no relation. Griffiths had had an on-off affair for 2 years with millionaire businessman Mr. Lawrence Wasty, 55, who ran nursing homes for the elderly. Griffiths had left her husband, RAF Sergeant Paul Morris, and their 3 children, aged 9 to 13, for Mr. Wasty, who also was a family man. During 1989, her relationship with Mr. Wasty began to run into difficulties, and in an effort to keep it going, she told him in the autumn that she was pregnant. This puzzled Mr. Wasty because she had a partial hysterectomy, but she said the pregnancy was possible because she had undergone a silicone implant. Unsure of the truth of it all, he felt that she being a nurse, it would be accurate. However, she had no such treatment. She was not pregnant, and she was not a qualified nurse. She told Mr. Wasty she was to visit St Thomas's Hospital in London on January the 11th to have the baby induced, and that scans had shown that it was to be a girl. On that day, she travelled from her home in Burford, Oxfordshire, to London, and first went shopping in the West End, where she bought a baby carry cot. She then made her way to St Thomas's, where she was familiar with the layout, having undergone treatment there for a kidney disorder and had one of her kidneys removed. Griffiths spent the afternoon in the hospital canteen, and that evening made her way to the maternity wards. She first attempted to snatch a baby from an incubator in a private room, before making her way to Dawn's bed. Griffiths took Alex out of the hospital and rang Mr. Wasey from Paddington to tell him he was the father of a baby girl. He then drove from his luxury home in the New Forest in Burford. Griffiths told him that she had delivered the child at home with the help of a midwife at 9 o'clock that morning. While Griffiths was playing happy families with baby Alex, Dawn and Jeff's world was collapsing around them. There were no nurses on the ward, so vital minutes were lost before the hospital exits could be closed. Unbeknown to anyone, Griffiths had fled down the back stairs and out of the building by the time security guards were alerted. From then on, it was bedlam, says Dawn. I was sick with loss. I was crying constantly. I had to be sedated. I woke up every morning full of hope that it would be the day that they'd find her. But it was only when Dawn saw forensic teams scouring the bins outside the hospital that she thought her baby could be dead. On January 13th, the Sun newspaper offered a £20,000 reward to help find Alex. With the help of the parents of the other baby that Griffiths tried to abduct, police were able to draw up an accurate photo fit, which was used to launch a nationwide hunt. Thousands of calls were made to the police incident room about the disappearance, but police were no closer to finding Alex. Dawn made an appeal while still in her hospital gown. Shaking with emotion, she told the media, "Just please bring her back. I love her so much. I really want her back, and she needs me." People across the country were behind Dawn and praying for Alex's safe return. Dawn even received a touching letter from Diana, Princess of Wales. The letter was described as a personal message from a mother to a mother. On January 15th, a woman telephoned the hospital and apologised for taking Alex, but hung up before any further information could be sought. Detectives begin to work on the theory that the kidnapper may be on the way to Australia. Griffiths, however, was only about 50 miles away in a small village in Oxfordshire. It was an estate agent in the picturesque Burford who identified Griffiths after she had rented a cottage for herself and her baby and raised the alarm. Local police are informed and an officer is sent to investigate, and the reports back his suspicions. Police surrounded the cottage, and Griffiths, who was clearly in an unstable condition, injected painkillers into her leg and was rushed to hospital. Alex was found inside the house, safe, well and asleep. Dawn and Jeff were then driven at high speed by police to Witney police station, where they were reunited with their baby 17 days after she was taken. Griffiths had thought of handing Alex back, but did not because she was a very isolated woman, with virtually no family to back her up. According to medical reports, Griffiths was suffering from Munchausen syndrome, which led her to convince herself and others she was seriously ill. As a result of these imagined illnesses, she had a kidney removed unnecessarily. Griffiths, then aged 33, was charged with taking a baby without authority or reasonable excuse from the lawful custody of her parents. She pled guilty at Southwark Crown Court and was committed to a mental hospital under Section 37 of the Mental Health Act. Mr. Justice Elliott told Griffiths she would have to remain in hospital until she was fit to come back into the community. Griffiths was later released after 7 months in hospital and died from cancer 4 years later. As she lay dying, the 38-year-old was reported to have told the relatives she was sorry for what she did. Dawn struggled to form a bond with Alex. She became a wreck, convinced something would happen to her if they left the house. Eventually, the strain of everything caused Dawn to take an overdose of antidepressants and was treated for post-traumatic stress disorder. Jeff and Dawn separated when Alex was 2 years old, but Alex went on to thrive under her mother's care, who used the large sum of money she received from a lucrative newspaper deal to give her daughter the best private education. Alex appeared on the television show Britain's Got Talent in 2011, showing the world what a beautiful, confident young woman should become. Now she had put her troubling start behind her. 4 years after Alex's abduction, a similar case hit the headlines. In July 1994, Karen and Roger Humphreys had just welcomed their baby daughter Abby into the world at the Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham. Julie Kelly, 22, disguised as a nurse working in the hospital, asked Abby's father Roger to hand over the 3-hour-old baby for a hearing test. Still in a state of elation from the birth and not thinking anything of it, He handed Abby over to her. Kelly then simply walked out of the hospital with Abby in her arms. Karen said, "I'd had those first 3 hours with Abby, cuddling and feeding her. The bonding had begun. It was a terrible wrench to lose her so quickly, but I knew I had to be strong and believe that I would get her back." Roger ran around like a crazy man. He had held his daughter for no more than an hour. He was in a terrible state, dashing her along corridors and checking vehicles looking for a woman with a baby, but he could not find Kelly. Kelly had recently been dumped by her boyfriend, and in a desperate effort to win him back, she told him she was pregnant with his child. Her lie worked, and the young couple began to prepare for their baby, turning a bedroom in their home into a nursery. Karen and Roger appeared on TV and appealed desperately for Abby's return, while Kelly was busy introducing people to the new baby. Neighbours of Kelly said they were a little surprised when the young woman announced that she had given birth to a girl. "She had a scan and told us there would be a boy," they said. Police went to the house on Brendan Drive in Woollerton 3 times over the next 17 days, where Kelly was living with her 25-year-old boyfriend, his mother, and little Abby. Many in the street were suspicious of Kelly, and it was eventually a tip-off from one of them that led to the baby's recovery. Karen said, "I knew immediately that she was mine. She had lost a lot of weight, but you couldn't miss that shock of blonde hair she'd been born with. But it was more than that. I just knew this was my baby. There's something between a mother and her child that's stronger than all the tests." Once in court, Kelly pleaded guilty and expressed her deep regret for the distress she caused. "It is her most fervent hope that baby Abby's not suffered unduly or at all," her lawyer told the courtroom. She was sentenced to 3 years probation and treated for a severe personality disorder. Kelly gave birth to a baby girl the following year in 1995. Her boyfriend's lawyer said, "He truly believed she was pregnant and had good reason to. The first time he realised the truth was when the police arrived in the early hours at his home." Abby's parents moved to New Zealand for a quieter life after the anguish they had suffered. Abby became a champion swimmer, representing her new country. She earned a degree in psychology and criminology before a career as a flight attendant, and then later working in IT. Karen Humphries sadly died from cancer in 2020, and Abby herself has been fighting cancer since 2021.